Welcome again. Alas, for the last time. And one final story. Hibbert, always conscious of two worlds, was, in this particular mountain village, conscious of three. It lay on the slopes of the Valley Alps, and he'd taken a room in the little post office where he could be at peace to write his book. The three worlds that met and mingled here seemed to his imaginative temperament very obvious. There was the world of tourist English, civilized, quasi-educated, to which he belonged by birth at any rate. There was the world of peasants, to which he felt himself drawn by sympathy. And there was this other, which he could only call the world of nature. To this last, however, he felt that most of him belonged. The others borrowed from it, as it were, for visits. Here, with the soul of nature, hid his central life. "Don't go back to your dreary old post office. We're going to have supper in my room, something hot. Come and join us. Hurry up." There'd been an ice carnival, and the last party, tailing up the snow slope to the hotel, called him. Quite suddenly, the impulse came to stay and skate alone. The thought of the stuffy hotel room and of those noisy people with their obvious jokes and laughter oppressed him. He felt a longing to be alone with the night, to taste her wonder all by himself there beneath the stars, gliding over the ice. There was a queer feeling that he stayed because he had to, almost as though there was something he'd forgotten, overlooked, left undone. He skated on and on, keen, exhilarating pleasure in his tingling blood, and weariness all forgotten. And then, midway in the delight of rushing movement, he saw a figure gliding behind the wire netting, watching him. She was tall and slim and graceful. He could see that even in the dark. And then, of course, he understood. It was another adventurous skater like himself, stolen down unawares from hotel or chalet and searching for the opening. He turned to see her swerving up to his side across the width of the rink. She had somehow found another way in. She was delicious to skate with, supple, sure, and light, fast as a man, yet with the freedom of a child, sinuous and steady at the same time. Her flexibility made him wonder, and when he asked where she'd learned, she murmured. He caught the breath against his ear and recalled later that it was singularly cold, that she could hardly tell, for she had been accustomed to the ice ever since she could remember. But her face he never properly saw. Midnight had long since sounded from the old church tower before they parted. He saw her slim figure gliding away across the snow. Very queer, he thought, and wondering what in the world had possessed him to be so free with her, and who in the world she was, he went up the steep slope to the post office and so to bed, her promise to come again another night still ringing delightfully in his ears. In the morning, Hibbert realized he had done perhaps a foolish thing. Gossip in these little winter resorts was worse than in a provincial town. In his times of leisure, the memory returned persistently to haunt him. When he skied or danced in the evenings, and especially when he skated on the little rink, he was aware that the eyes of his mind forever sought this strange companion of the night. He searched in vain. For several days the sky held clear and bright and frosty, bitterly cold, everything crisp and sparkling in the sun. But there was no sign of fresh snow, and the skiers began to grumble. The keen east wind showed no signs of changing for a whole 10 days. Then suddenly there came a touch of softer air. Hibbert, who was delicately sensitive to the least change in earth or sky, was perhaps the first to feel it. He knew through every nerve in his body that presently a fall would come. That night there was excitement in the little hotel world, first because there was a bal costume, but chiefly because the new snow had come. And snow that night seemed in everybody's thoughts. The dancing couples talked of it. The hotel proprietors congratulated one another. It meant good sport and satisfied their guests. Everyone was planning trips and expeditions, talking of slopes and tide marks, of flying speed and distance, of drifts and crust and frost. But in the mind of Hibbert, this energy became transmuted into the personality of the girl of the snow. She somewhere was waiting for him, expecting him, calling to him softly from those leagues of moonlit mountain. But nowhere among the costumed dancers did he see her slender figure. It was close on midnight. Lighting a cigarette a friend offered him, Hibbert returned a confused reply to some question as to whether he could join their party in the morning. It seemed he did not hear it properly. Another wilder call was sounding in his ears. For up the street he had seen a little figure moving. Close against the shadows of the baker's shop it glided, white, slim, enticing. He knew by some incalculable swift instinct she would not meet him in the village street. Indeed, already she had disappeared, melted from view up the white vista of the moonlit road. Hibbert found himself beyond the houses, searching for her along the fringe of forest. But he was aware of a faint sense of hesitation, a vague uneasiness, jarred unpleasantly across the flow of his excited feelings, chilling exhilaration. He caught the instant's discord, dismissed it, and passed on. And then he saw her. She stood there waiting in a little clear space of shining snow, dressed all in white, part of the moonlight and the glistening background, her slender figure just discernible. "I waited, for I knew you would come." The silvery little voice of windy beauty floated down to him. "You had to come." "I'm ready," he answered. I knew it too." Life leapt within him. "Give me your hand," he cried. "I'm coming." And soon they left the trees behind and passed on to the enormous slopes of the sea of snow that rolled in mountainous terror and beauty to the stars. The wonder of the white world caught him away. Under the steady moonlight it was more than haunting. It was a living, white, bewildering power that deliciously confused the senses and laid a spell of wild perplexity upon the heart. The girl, slim and seductive, kept always just ahead, so that he never quite came up with her. He saw the white enchantment of her face and figure, something that streamed about her neck, flying like a wreath of snow in the wind, and heard the alluring accents of her whispering voice that called from time to time, "A little farther on, a little higher, then we'll run home together." They took a gentle angle of ascent. In this crystal, wine-like air, fatigue vanished. The swishing of the ski through the powdery surface of the snow was the only sound that broke the stillness. "Give me your hand. It's time now to turn back." "Just one more slope," she laughed. "That ridge above us, then we'll make for home." "But I've never come so high before. Oh, it's glorious, this world of silent snow and moonlight. You're a child of the snow, I swear. Let me see your face." He stopped. The girl had suddenly come quite close. A breath of ice passed through his very soul. She touched him. The sound of the church bell came up faintly from the valley far below, and he counted the strokes. 5. A sudden, curious weakness seized him as he listened. He felt like sinking down upon the snow and lying there. He'd been climbing for 5 hours. It was, of course, the warning of complete exhaustion. "A little higher, where we cannot hear the wicked bells," she cried, and for the first time seized him deliberately by the hand. She moved, was suddenly close against his face. Again she touched him. And Hibbert tried to turn away and escape, and so trying found for the first time the power of the snow, the suffocating weakness that it brings to exhausted men, luring them to the sleep of death in her clinging, soft embrace. Her arms were round his neck. She drew him softly downwards to his knees. He sank. He yielded utterly. He obeyed. Her weight was upon him, smothering, delicious. The snow was to his waist. She kissed him softly on the lips, the eyes, all over his face. He made one more feeble effort to resist. Then, realizing even while he struggled that this soft weight about his heart was sweeter than anything life could ever bring, he let his muscles relax and sank back into the soft oblivion of the covering snow. Her wintry kisses bore him into sleep. Hibbert woke. He slowly turned, bewildered, heavy eyes upon the desolate mountains, stared dizzily about him, tried to rise. First his muscles would not act. A numbing, aching pain possessed him. He uttered a long, thin cry for help and heard its faintness swallowed by the wind. And then he understood vaguely why he was only warm, not dead. For the wind had built up a sheltering mound of driven snow against his body while he slept. Dawn kissed the eastern sky. He saw the points of his skis projecting just below him. Then he remembered, could he but rise, the skis would carry him. But if he failed and fell? He rose slowly, balanced a moment, then, taking the angle of an immense zigzag, started down the awful slopes like an arrow from a bow. He took it in 4 mile-long zigzags, and it was the turning at each corner that nearly finished him, for then the strain of balancing taxed to the verge of collapse the remnants of his strength. And ever close upon his heels came following forms and voices with the whirling snow dust. He heard that little silvery voice of death and laughter at his back, but in anger now, no longer soft and coaxing. And it was accompanied, she did not follow alone. It seemed a host of these flying figures of the snow chased madly just behind him. He felt them furiously smite his neck and cheeks, snatch at his hands, and try to entangle his feet and skis in drifts. His eyes they blinded, and they caught his breath away. The terror of the heights and snow and winter desolation urged him forward, in the maddest race with death a human being ever knew. There was one last wild cry in his ears, a shriek of the wind before his face, and a rush of stinging snow against closed eyelids, and then he dropped through empty space. Speed took sight from him. It seemed he flew off the surface of the world. Indistinctly, he recalls the murmur of men's voices, the touch of strong arms that lifted him, and the shooting pain from his twisted ankle. For when he opened his eyes again to normal life, he found himself lying in his bed with the doctor at his side. For years to come, the story of Mad Hibbert skiing at night is recounted in that mountain village. He went, it seems, up slopes and to a height that no man in his senses ever tried before. The tourists were agog about it for the rest of the season, and the very same day 2 of the bolder men went up and photographed the slopes. Later, Hibbert saw these photographs. He noticed one curious thing about them, though he did not mention it to anyone. There was only one single track. Well, I must take my leave. Who knows if we will meet again? I hope we do. But, till then, sleep well.